to the Princess Power Hour. I'm so excited to have you today, and whether you're a stay-at-home mom or you're a woman who's been out in the workforce, or a woman who's just newly divorced and you're trying to restructure your life, we hope that we're going to have something for you. Today's subject is going to be accomplishing whatever you want in life and not letting the obstacles and challenges stop you. So I'm so excited today that we have Kerry Walls, and Kerry is from Oregon. And let me read a little bit about her for you here today. She started and ran her own business for 10 years in the 1990s and grew it from an idea to a company selling over 500,000 units per year. She grew a small business inside of a nonprofit to over $100,000 a year within 2 years, selling books to help children cope with the death of a loved one. For the past 15 years as a business coach in a consulting firm, she moved up from individual consultant to the CEO. She's trained other business coaches for over 5 years, developed and delivered a business coach training program helping consultants grow from zero to over $200,000 in revenue production within 2 years. Kerry is most committed to executives and business owners' success and fulfillment in their work. She's assisted multiple businesses sustain double-digit sales growth and create a platform for growth to the next level of business. This includes creating relationships and teams committed and aligned to mutual and business success. So I'm so excited that Kerry's taking the time out of her busy day to be with us today, and I want to thank our listeners for their time as well. So welcome, Kerry. Thank you.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. So, Kerry, this has been a long, interesting process for you. And you've launched out, you're doing some of your own coaching with your own business now rather than working under somebody else. What does it feel like to be an entrepreneur?
It definitely is different. It's made me a better business coach, even though I've coached people. It's echoing a little bit over here. Is it there? I'll just.
We can edit out. Just 1 second. We can discuss this, and then we'll edit this part of the conversation out. What are you saying?
Turn down the volume on her side.
Turn down the volume on your side.
As far as like, is it playing like over an open?
Okay. How's that? That's fine.
That's it.
Okay, and our editing team will take that out, so don't worry.
I've coached people starting businesses for years, and I had a business background, but just this time I really needed to generate income quickly, and it's been quite a learning experience to do that. And I have an even deeper appreciation for people who own businesses, run businesses, and the amount of tenacity, commitment, learning it takes to do that and to be successful. So I have even more compassion, I think, for the process than I did before.
Well, that's fabulous. Now, let me ask you to dig deep for a moment and think of one of your coaching experiences and tell me one of your favorite experiences where the results were a direct result of something that you were able to say or get the coaching client to do.
Okay. Like a couple of people come to mind. I started with a person in January who had a $40,000 income, and she just reminded me, she wanted to just get to 80, and I made her round it up to 100. So she wanted to get to a 6-figure income, and she did that within 90 days of us beginning work together.
Are you kidding?
So
wow.
It was just really fun to work with her. She just is a learner. She'd read a lot of self-help books and things, so she applied things quickly, and she listened, and she'd go out and she'd try it, and then she'd come back and say, this worked, this didn't, now what? And now she's learning to handle a whole lot of business, which is a different issue to have, but fun.
It is a different issue to have, and juggling more hats and figuring out how to get everything done takes a person to a different level of suffering. And I think one of the things that you said was you help people in suffering in the workplace.
Yes.
I said that a little. I love that.
Yeah, a lot of people do suffer in their work, and it's often around some relationship that doesn't work or some piece of it that isn't fulfilling. So I help them see how to take some different actions to be more effective. So I've helped like a mother-daughter partner team, and also in bigger organizations. We had one person referred to us who everyone, I won't use the word they said, but everyone said he was a jerk. Mm-hmm. Started working with him, and he's been great. We can understand why he got that feedback, but he also has a martial arts background, so he could often relate what we were talking about to the martial arts, and he's gotten much better at listening to others, hearing what they have to say, finding out what their concerns are, and being much more of a team player and being less reactive. So that's been fun as well.
I'm sure that's a big help. Now, I work with my daughter as well.
Yeah.
And I know that for myself, I have to separate the mother-daughter relationship from the employee relationship.
Right.
And quite frankly, there are times that she does something that hurts me so bad, you want to lash out and fire somebody, but really, as an employee, they didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
Or it could be the other way around, but you have to separate those things and work through. So it's kind of a process. So I can imagine as a coach, you face a lot of things like that. Now you said you thought of 2 things before when I was asking you about some of your successes. Okay, tell us about it.
I talked about both the marketing person who doubled her business and the other person in the executive who became much more effective with others on his team. So.
Oh, okay. Got it. I'm sorry. Well, can you give us an example of something that an average person could do to make a change? I know that there's all kinds of variables, but I would imagine reaching out and getting coaching services would be one of those things.
For sure. What somebody could do to
take their life to another level.
Yeah.
To begin to grow and stretch and get past their boundaries.
Right. What I find is the most important thing to do is to actually take the situations in front of you and learn to learn from them. We often don't, maybe, we all have results. Some results we like and some results we don't like. Can be personal, business, anywhere. But often if we don't like a result, we kind of resist the result, or we make it wrong, or we say it shouldn't be here. If you can accept that it's here, accept what's so, whether you like it or not, or whatever your opinions are about it or not, accept what's so, and then be clear what your commitment is, even in the face of that result that you don't like. So it's both having a commitment and the acceptance of the result and what are the facts, and that'll start to reveal new actions to take. You often have to do that in coaching so you get an outside perspective, because often the things that are getting in our way are out of our awareness or in our blind spots. And so we don't see those. That's why coaching helps to really shine the light on the things out of our awareness. Like that one example I gave of the person who people said was hard to work with. We could tell talking with him how he was probably hard to work with, because you could hear it in the background of what he was saying. He wasn't aware of it. He's becoming more aware of it and then able to interrupt his reaction and be more effective. So it just takes practice, but engaging, one way I would say it, engage in the breakdown or engage in the result that you don't want, versus resist it. And that can be divorce, that can be a business result not coming through. Because often, say in divorce, for example, the minute you're divorced, or even when you know it's going that way, your life has already changed, and you're in what I would call a transition period. And that period is very volatile. It's a little bit like tidal waves, and you're up and you're down, and you don't know which way is which. But if you have a stand or commitment out in the future to create want and just keep going for that stand, even in the face of no evidence, you eventually get there. You may get no kind of from the universe until you get to a yes. But if you keep taking the actions consistent with that and use future-based language, not past-based language, or not like the condition you're coming from, if that makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense. I absolutely love that example. And I know I've been divorced, and I was married for 22 years to my first husband, and was devastated at the loss of that marriage. And I had been a stay-at-home mom for 22 years, and I was heartbroken. I had met him when I was 15 years old, fallen in love with him then, and believed that we would be together forever. And I worked very hard to try to hang on to the marriage, but it didn't happen. And at some point you have to wake up and say, what's next? And how do I get from point A to point B? And so I think that was a fabulous example. Thank you so much.
Well, and the waking up part you refer to is the accepting what's so. It is what it is, versus you had something you wanted, but it was what it was.
Yes, you're absolutely
so that acceptance can help you move forward.
So tell me for a minute, what does it take to make a good coach? If we can take this to two different examples. One would be if someone, say, is looking to become a coach, yes, and the other is if someone is looking to hire a coach. Mm-hmm. So let's address both of those.
Okay. I actually recently wrote a Pulse article about this because I've run into a lot of Pulses on LinkedIn. I've run into a lot of people who have coach certifications. And there seems like there's a big gap between the certification and actually being an effective coach. And I have a master's in counseling psychology background, but not a coach certification. But I know in counseling psychology, you get a lot of feedback, you get supervision. One of the things you always have to be able to do is a certain level of self-awareness so that you know your own issues, because a lot of beginning or novice coaches will try to fix things or give advice, which isn't what coaching is. Coaching really is designed to improve performance. Whatever performance you want. And that can be a relationship performance. It can be business. So how do you not give advice? How do you know when you got hooked by something or reactive, or you start making a client wrong? You need to have a certain awareness around that. And that's ongoing learning all the time, forever, no matter how much experience you have. So I think that's critical, because I've been the recipient of, I think, some of the best coaching in the world, and I've been a recipient of some not so great coaching, and it makes a world of difference what kind of coach it is. Like, so do you really feel listened to? Do you feel like that coach is on your side, in your court, standing for you? But still giving feedback sometimes, and you'll hear things that you maybe don't want to hear, but that can be a big contribution because that's in your blind spot. So looking for a coach, like, do you feel supported? Do you feel criticized? Do you feel like they're coming up underneath you? Do they understand you? Do they get you? That's pretty important. And I think also, do they have an expertise in the area they're coaching? So if someone's a career coach, have they had breakthroughs in their own career, or really had a stellar career? Like, do they have a track record? So it's not just words, but it's actually that experience base is really critical as well. So that's kind of looking for a coach. And the other question was like becoming a coach. How do you do that? I mean, I think it's important to find an experienced coach who you'll get there faster if you have a experienced coach helping you, kind of shining the light on your own issues, having them hear about your clients, getting their feedback on their perspective on it. You'll be more effective faster, because coaching just helps you accelerate your performance. And you'll learn if you muddle through it, but you might as well that's how I learned on the job, but also with some master coaches over time. So
very good. And I've hired coaches as well from time to time. And, if you feel judged by a coach, you're not going to be comfortable with them at all. I've had to request a different coach.
That's the word.
Yeah, it's absolutely the worst.
Yeah.
And then you find somebody that just shines and they inspire you and give you information that you've never known or thought about. And it's life-changing. I've experienced that.
It shouldn't be, you can be kind of a cheerleader, but the point is to have the coachee or the person receiving coaching be able to produce that result by themselves. So they're empowered to really produce that result. So that's really critical. So it's not about the coach, but there should be at the end of the session an opening for action that you didn't see, and you're inspired and you see some ways to go to work on the issue that you were stopped by at the beginning of the session.
Well, I remember a specific coaching session that I went through, and the coach was a business coach, but I was going through my divorce at the time, and I was lonely, and she suggested meetup.com. And that's not a dating site. That's just a site that lists a lot of different groups that you can participate in fun things. It could be going to the movies or a play or dancing or hiking or kayaking or just anything you can imagine.
Yeah.
And at that time, the first few times I went on, I didn't find anything that was a good fit for me. I would get real excited and I would think I found the perfect group. And then I would see it said it was for people younger than 35. And I wasn't younger than 35. And another one, you had to be single. And I wasn't legally single at that time. And I remember the most heartbreaking one, I finally found this one that I thought was absolutely perfect. And I was just so ready to go for it. And then I read deeper, and you had to be a lesbian to be part of that group. So everything seemed to disqualify me, which made me feel even worse. But since then, I've found many groups to be a part of and dearly love meetup.com. And off the top of my head, I can picture that coach, but I can't remember her name. I'm sure eventually I could. Well, but I remember that advice, Yeah.
People are whole people, so you may be talking about business, but often it might be a personal issue that's getting in the way of your productivity at work. So being ambidextrous and having that background and experience helps you be helpful to anyone no matter what the issue is, even though that might be not your focus.
That's right. And I know that you were telling me that you have coaching clients from all over the world. You mentioned that you have somebody in Dubai, which I think is just fascinating.
Yes. Yeah.
And tell me a little bit more about some of the other places that people come to you from. How do they even find you?
I did that. The one in Dubai was a client a long time ago in Portland, Oregon, and she's an international traveler and she lives there now. I did some speaking in Washington and got a client from Seattle area, and a company I work with here has a branch kind of in Northern California. And I'm also doing a lot on LinkedIn, and I'm looking forward to traveling myself. So I'm experimenting a lot how to network but not be geographically dependent. Because I also want to tax deduct my trip, so I want to find a client on my trip and and still be networking and kind of building business in between seeing sights and siestas and tapas.
And that's exactly in alignment with what I teach here at Princess Power. I love the idea of having an adventurous life. And who doesn't want to travel? And especially if you can travel and write off some of those expenses. And I just love the idea of being able to teach people that our lives can go beyond the borders of what we've had in the past. And you can do it with children, you can do it without children. As long as there's internet connections, we can run businesses from anywhere in the world.
Right. Yeah.
I believe that's powerful. So tell us about your trip. You told me that you were going to Spain and a few other places.
I'm flying into Portugal and then a little bit in Spain, and then I'm flying up to where my daughter's going to school in Berlin, and my older daughter's flying in, and we're going to spend 2 weeks in Austria and Germany. And I'm going to work remotely with clients. I'm just blocking it out like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday because of the time difference, it's 9 hours or so, like 4 in the afternoon to 9. So it'll be before dinner. So it seems like it will work as long as I have an internet connection, and looking forward to spending time with both my daughters. I think the 20s are the best after some of those teen years.
Oh, I know what you mean. And you told me that you had been a single mom as well. So I really hats off to you for that, for building a business and building a life and raising your girls. That's just incredible.
Made the last tuition payment, and now it's time for me, right?
Oh, congratulations. I'm kind of in the same season of life. I parented 19 children, and now I can go dancing every Saturday night if I want to. And my kids are kind of shocked about that, but they're all adults now, and I'm having fun. I married young, I had children young, and now I'm getting to enjoy some of the things that I didn't, Yeah. And I just got back from a trip from Costa Rica myself. And I think you told me your trip is going to be 5 weeks in total. Mine was a little bit shorter. But I was able to do work, check my emails in the morning and in the evening. And I had one trip to Hawaii a couple years ago. A girlfriend went with me, and she said, I wish I could just take your phone away from you, because I did have a couple of crises while I was on that trip, and I was having to deal with some issues actually in Korea.
Oh, wow.
But it's just so fun to be able to not be bound to an office. And I've talked to people, had a man interested in me for a while. I dated him for about 6 weeks, and he was a businessman. He was a very nice man, and he treated me so well. And I'm always assessing a person for their integrity and things like that. I'm not interested in jumping into an intimate relationship. So in those 6 weeks, he and I hadn't even kissed. And we would go dancing, and we didn't text in between dates or anything like that. And we would just set the date and have the date, and it was nice. And then I realized I wasn't looking forward to spending time with this man or seeing him again. And then I realized that he was really an employee of his business rather than a businessman. And he was a partner of his brother. And his brother got to travel and do the fun things. But this man, was the workhorse slave, really. And I thought, if his brother can push him around, I'm a very strong woman. I don't want to be with a man that I could push around. And so those were kind of the deciding factors for me that, he just wasn't going to be even worthy of becoming attracted to. And it's interesting how those messages will come to us,
Yeah.
As we close out today, is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience?
I'm trying to think. I'm happy to have a conversation with anybody about, anything they want to create a business or really taking their business to the next level. And I've had people get benefit just from talking for an hour and not proceed even with business coaching. So it's not just about that, but I've had some partners decide that they didn't want to be partners, and they probably saved thousands of dollars making that decision just from the questions and the dialogue we had. So it's good to think things through and kind of look at what you want. So,
Well, we would love to have our followers reach out to you. Where could they find you?
I'm on LinkedIn, as well as my website's a little bit under construction at the moment, but an email, it's Kerry, Kerry, R Walls, WALLS, @gmail.com. But also you can Google me at LinkedIn in Portland, Oregon, and you'll find me.
All right. Well, we'll make sure to get all of that on our website. And we thank you for taking the time today to be with us, Kerry.
Sure. Well, thank you.
Well, good luck with your business and enjoy your trip. And
Okay.
let's catch up later on how that all goes for you.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate the opportunity, and go Princess Power, right?
My pleasure. I'm going to take us off the broadcast there.